Okay, well, welcome. This is our first IMS Cocoa with Carrie, and we're excited to partner with the PTSA on this. It was a great idea that came from one of our PTSA friends, Shamitha, as far as offering a daytime, and so we're excited to see. It looks like we have a lot more people than necessarily have been able to come to our evening session, so this is a great start already. So I'll start with some introductions. So my name is Carrie Reckling, principal of Issaquah Middle, and Teresa and Becky, would you like to introduce yourselves as well?
I am Teresa Cowan, one of the assistant principals.
And I'm Becky Mulvane, one of the other assistant principals.
Thank you. Wonderful to see so many people here. Thanks for joining us. So as far as the outline, it's going to be pretty casual. I'll let you know kind of the timeline of what we'll do is I had just 5 questions pre-submitted and a couple of them are repeats of one another. A couple are mostly focused around what the return to in-person learning could look like. So we'll share what we have information on that now and talk through some of the other questions that are here. And then Teresa Cowan, Miss Cowan, she has some visual, she has a slideshow that she's put together showing some of the visual preparations that we've done at school, just how we've been preparing the hallways and classrooms and common spaces for student return, as far as she's our COVID supervisor. And so she has been working on a lot of the details to help prepare us to be sure that we're ready for that. And then we'll just have kind of some open Q&A at the end. So if you have a question, you're welcome to either type it into the chat and then we'll read through and answer them. Or if you'd like to raise your hand and ask the question verbally, that is fine as well. Okay, so thanks for joining us. We'll go ahead and get started. So I'll read through some of the questions that we had from the form. So we had 5. Here's one. What are the plans for returning the kids back to in-person for the 2020-21 school year? And I had a couple of then 2 other questions were very similar to that about what is it going to look like? What will it be for us that do choose to attend on site? So we can give you an overview. So as has been shared with the district, we are still waiting for some of the details to be given to us so that we can finalize planning. But in the meantime, we have prepped everything possible that we can as of right now for a possible return to in-person services. So, well, not a possible, it is happening. We're excited. So we just need to know the final details as far as schedule goes, but we've been doing a lot of prep work to make sure that we are prepared. Currently, the plan is to have students return on Thursday, April 15th. And what we are operating under the assumption that students will return, likely about a 50% of students will return a couple days each week. We don't know exactly how that breakdown will be. And so we've set up all of our classrooms to handle a 50% or less like student load in those classes so that they will be able to attend their classes in person on site and then rotate throughout their day being supported. We are not sure yet if it will be the same 2-hour block that we currently have. That's a really good question. We don't know if it's going to be that, if it's going to be the 6-person schedule. That is all coming from the district and the union bargaining. So we are hoping for more information on that very soon. I have another question in the chat similar to that, relative to this, is the teachers will change. Currently, we do not anticipate needing to change teachers. There may be some really low level if we can like swap a period to help balance, we may, but that's going to be on like a handful of students. We haven't even started to do that because we don't see any conflicts yet of what that could look like. So as far as the student experience will go, they will be with the same teachers, same periods. We just don't know what the periods will look like on the actual days that we're here. That's what we're waiting to learn from. Another part of what we're planning is for any new 6th grade students that have never been on IMS or any new to IMS current 6th or 7th graders, or sorry, 7th or 8th graders that like maybe moved in. We're planning to have a little explore drop-in session on the 14th in the afternoon, the day before school actually starts, so that 6th graders can at least feel like they know how to navigate the halls a little bit because they've never been able to be on campus before. So know that we're planning that and getting that ready so that at least the 6th graders who have literally never stepped foot on our campus can get a few minutes to look around and explore a little bit. And for anyone that can't come that day, we'll record that session so that students can get a virtual tour of that. And then for as part of that, relative to the students that are on site and will be kind of navigating their classes, we still have a portion of our students that will be at home, still continuing with remote learning. And so the idea is that it will be the very similar schedule to what students are experiencing on campus. They'll rotate through whatever that looks like, whether it's all 6 periods or 3 2-hour chunks. We're waiting for that news. But they will be able to zoom in and see other classmates on Zoom. It depends on how the teacher has it set up. Sometimes it'll be showing the other kids in the classroom. Sometimes it'll just be on them. But the teacher will be navigating this communication between the students that are in class and the students that are in Zoom. And we're in the middle of doing lots of training to help prep staff get ready for this. So every day after school this week, we have a couple of hours where staff are exploring and sharing and practicing together as far as of what this can look like as we're getting ready for this return. Let me glance back through the chat and see if any questions popped up relative to that. So the information on the schedule should be shared out as soon as we receive it. We just don't know when bargaining will be finished. There will be some information that comes this week, what we can share, but we don't know that we'll have the specific schedule information yet. We have been actively working, Ms. Cowan and lots of people, but we've been working on our hybrid handbook for IMS. So we're hoping to send that out very soon. So even though we don't know the specific details of the schedule yet, you'll see what it's like for students and what they'll experience when they come on site. Teachers will be streaming live. Virtual students currently, I understand that they will be able to still be in their same teachers and classmates. It'll just be they'll experience live streaming while they're also doing live teaching in the classroom. It'll be kind of a shared. One question, a student that is currently at PCMS, would she be at IMS on April 15th? No, so for this year, whatever school your student is attending for this year, they will continue this year at that building. And this is, so for some of the boundary changes that are happening, and so for some of the families that are affecting this chat is for any families that wanted to come and learn a little bit more about IMS. So some of it we can answer questions about next year as well, but we do have with the transitioning boundaries, we have some changes, but your student will finish the year wherever they're at. And then in the fall, they will start with us if you're at a different school. So the April 15th start date is everyone will just start if they've chosen to at the school they're currently assigned to. Let's see. That's a really good question. What happens to a class if a teacher is teaching from home? That is still part of the information that we're waiting to get some information on, and who is even, if anyone has been given a remote assignment. So we're not sure what that looks like yet. So we'll share more on that as we hear that. Again, what percentage of teachers are returning to in-person? I don't have information on that yet. They are still working on that piece. How many days a week in person? We are operating under the understanding of what we're planning for, unless we hear different things, is because the governor said at least 2 days a week on site. And so we're planning to have 2 days where students will be assigned either like a Monday, Tuesday grouping where they come to site, and then they'll do Thursday, Friday remote, or it might be Monday, Thursday, Tuesday, Friday. We're not quite sure what that looks like yet. Again, that'll come with the schedule release, but 2 days on site and the rest of the days, and 2 days off site. And then Wednesdays will likely be very similar, is my current guess of what that looks like. Yes, there's a question about laptops to work with the ones online. So we will either have, so we did send out a survey a couple weeks ago to find out if staff or if families needed another device, if they either were planning to use their current device that they had checked out from IMS to bring that to school to be able to access online learning and have that as a tool at school, if they needed to check one out, or if they plan to bring a personal device from home. And so we will do some more follow-ups on that to find out who needs to get a computer to use when they're on site, and share that out. We'll also have a plan for if students show up on campus and their computer isn't charged, or they forgot theirs, or something isn't working. We'll have like a loaner situation so they can borrow for the day as our current plan. So as we get information about what that actually looks like, we'll be able, that's kind of some of the planning that we're doing right now. Wednesdays, as far as I know, will be very similar to the current plan. They'll have the SEL lesson, and then they'll have teacher support time, independent study time, things like that, just like it currently has been. But again, that's part of what will be released, just because I'm guessing that based on the 2-3 and the 4-5, well, basically the K-5 now plan, the Wednesdays have stayed pretty similar on the remote learning and activity time. So we're assuming that that will be what we see. Will buses be running? Yes, our understanding is that transportation will be provided. And I believe that we will have some bus information very soon. In fact, you might even be able to log into the bus route system on the school district website right now and see the current bus information. For my own littler kids, when they did the 4-5 and 2-3 start back, I just logged in to check their routes and could see when the bus time was coming for them. And that's how I checked that. But I'll find out some information and we'll be definitely sharing that out in our e-news and parent communications. Very similar for high school, but I don't know the details because I don't know, high school has a different schedule than us just to begin with. So we don't know exactly what that'll look like for the high school. I'm guessing it will be similar because I believe that MOU that will come out will be secondary. It'll be 6-12. So we'll see what that means for the high school level as well. Let me see if we don't know many of the details. We are planning to have things like PE, choir, and band. While we don't know exactly what it will look like yet, we are planning to have large open spaces that they can access for short periods of time to be able to do their work. And so PE will, anytime that we can, will likely be out on the field where students can spread out and do activities that don't require them to be close to one another. Band and choir will be using our outdoor spaces, whether that's the courtyard, the area that we have between the building and the portables, or the field if possible. We'll have opportunities for them to spread out to be able to participate outside, inside when we can. So we're still waiting for a lot of that will come from the communication that we get from the district and the union, but that's kind of the backup planning that we're doing so far. Okay. So currently we don't have anyone assigned to all in person. Although I won't say that I don't think that will change. We have a very, very small group of students that we are serving on site, which is our McKinney-Vento students or students that are experiencing homelessness. They are able to come and just work in our building during the day, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday right now, and get food and have just a place to work. So that I envision will continue, but as far as the larger groups, I am not sure. I would not be surprised if that would happen at some point. Let's see. Oh, good question. How much longer will the vaccine clinic be at IMS? Will it still be in the gym? So the current plan from the district that we've been working with the district on is that it will be the last clinic day currently scheduled will be April 14th in the morning. And so after that, they're planning to close up, shut it down, and we will have access to our gym space again as students return. So that's the current plan, and we've been thrilled that we've been able to be a part of that, but we are excited to have our building space back as well. The in-person days being full or half day, that is still a question that we have that's going to come from bargaining. We don't know the answer to that yet, but as soon as we have that information, we will share that. Let's see. And currently the vaccine clinic is for ISD staff and community partners, meaning that we've supported, I think the district has supported some other school districts to help vaccinate their staff. It's not yet open to the public other than some of our like LRC2 students. Sorry, let me rephrase that. The older ACT program students and families, there's been a little bit. So we can include, there's a district link with the kind of the communications that have gone out on that we can share. Can you check that for that, Teresa? Okay. Let me see. So, I did. Let me make sure I'm not missing any questions about families on the same schedule. Our understanding is that we can make so basically what we're doing is we're doing an alpha breakdown of the different days. And so if there are students, what we're trying to do is students with the same last name would be naturally assigned on the same day will be our guest, but we also understand that there's families that not all siblings have the same last name. And so if that situation occurs, then we can have one of the siblings swap to make sure that families can attend school in person on the same day if they would like. So we'll make sure to have that be an option. So all teachers and staff at IMS now fully vaccinated. We have everyone that wanted to have a vaccine had the opportunity to do so. I'm excited I get my second dose tomorrow. Other people have already had their doses. So anyone that has an interest in getting vaccinated has had that opportunity through the district, which has been fantastic at this point. And we'll have had the second dose by the time school starts. It's a personal decision if people choose to get vaccinated. So it's not been a district mandate. So the district has offered for the vaccinations to be available. But I'm not keeping track of who is vaccinated or not. That's not anything that the district is doing right now, other than just offering that opportunity and encouraging them to know that they're in the group that can get vaccinated right now. So good question. All right, how about let's pause and then let's go ahead and show if this works. Ms. Cowan, would you be able to show the PowerPoint with some of the physical preparations of the building, and then we can come back and answer some more questions in the chat? Okay.
Okay, can you see that right now? Let me just enlarge that. Are you seeing the PowerPoint? Okay, thanks. Okay, so most of you probably know the drill as far as the expectation will be that you will get in the morning the attestation form emailed to you. You can sign up to have it texted to your phone as well. So we're hoping we can get a few days of practice in before the 15th. And so your student would arrive with their maybe an attestation check mark on their phone if you have the ability as a parent to forward that to them, or a printout of it. So they would arrive to school and enter through the sports court area. We have lots of stanchions set up to direct traffic. Students will have a printout of families that have filled in the attestation at home as well. So we're going to have kind of a fast lane. We're hoping to get a lot of students through quickly if they can show us that beautiful green tick mark. And then we're going to have multiple other lanes where we might just look up the student in our printout and find that they've completed the attestation that way. Next one. So here's the side, or this is the entrance sort of beyond the sports court. We will have 4 attestations stations set up there, like this one that you can see. Students will hand sanitize, have their temperatures taken. We'll have extra things like masks there in case we feel that a student's mask is not secure enough, or if it breaks, etc. We've got those obviously all over the building. We have a stamp. We're going to be stamping the inside of students' wrists if they've passed the attestation, have done their hand sanitizing initially. Again, that'll be happening throughout the day. They'll get their temperature taken, and that will be kind of their pass as they go from class to class. If students arrive late, then they would enter through the front office door so that we can make sure that those steps are completed again. These are kind of a compilation of different images. I'm sure many of you will have questions, so I can't currently see the chat. If Becky and Carrie can let me know, but restrooms are set up with every other stall closed, and we will have, sign in, sign outs at classrooms, as we usually do anyways, to determine, make sure that teachers don't release more than a kid at a time. And then we will have socially distanced spacers outside the restroom. So if the stalls are full, the student would go back out and wait in line. Our staircases throughout the building are unidirectional, obviously not during an emergency like a fire drill, etc. But the rest of the time, students will be trained to get to their classes using the one-way staircases, which is a lot to get used to, even as staff members, but that's what we're doing. Okay, lunchroom. I have a better picture actually right here of what the lunchroom looks like. So all of those tables are set up with check marks to indicate where a student can sit. We'll have a lunchroom line for students to, if they're collecting their free lunch, which is available to any student, then they can get in line. The arrows kind of weave around, and they're spaced 6 feet apart. Lunches are free, so they won't get stuck at the to pay for their lunch. So the flow should be pretty fast to get through. And then they will go and find their seat. We also have some outdoor seating. We have ordered some more picnic tables and some canopies to cover those spaces as well. So there's a lot more seating outside, and we have additional kind of emergency inside seating on ledges and chairs. We've got chairs set up down the hallway as well. All of the classrooms have HP spray and hand sanitizer, so our teachers will be in the routine of greeting students as they always do at the door, and then spraying their hands with the hand sanitizer. and taking a little extra time at the beginning and end of class to wipe down their desks and their workstations. Here's an example of one of our health rooms. We have worked very hard with our custodial team to figure out kind of where teachers are working in their particular workspace. Obviously, science looks a little different from art, from health, et cetera. So this is an example of a health classroom. We have used, it looks like there's a lot of desks there, but you can see there aren't very many chairs. So we've actually used the additional desks as spacers. And in some of the classrooms, those desks have hooks so that students will be able to hook their backpack onto the side of the desk next to them. Here's a science classroom. Those beautiful big science classrooms are great. So we have some extra space there. Some of the, I don't know what they officially call those little bays, experiment bays, stations, will have desks in them as well. And most of these classrooms fit the minimum of 14 and sometimes as many as 19 desks. And they have been spaced to be not just 6 feet apart. I mean, they're 6 feet apart in every direction is what it boils down to. We have a very fancy triangular tool that has helped us space those out. We have stanchions and or tape set up in all of our hallways. This is an example of our, I think this is our science hallway. So you can see what those look like.
We also have the directional arrows down every hallway as well to help them know where to walk.
Yes. Oh, this one's out of order. Here's an art classroom. I think that's it. So any questions from the chat?
There were a bunch. So I'll go ahead and start. There were a bunch of questions about the attestation process. So I do the form every day for myself and my 2 younger kiddos, and we'll soon do it for my high schooler as well. So I can show you exactly what the survey looks like. I generally do it. You get you get a text message either sent to your phone in the morning or it comes via email. And so you can complete the attestation from either one. So it just so happens I did my morning ones this morning from my email. So I forwarded my link from my text. So it'll still let me show you what that process is. So I'll show you what it looks like. But it's helpful to do this early in the morning. It comes to parents' spots. Let me share my screen. And it's really easy to do. I just do it on my phone in the morning every day. So it'll say, you know, this is a basic symptom check. I'll click next. Oh, so turn it. I was hoping it would let me do it for my kiddo because it was a different link. But it says, I basically will say each, because I have 3 kiddos. So it'll say like each student's name. It'll say, hi, Henry or Levi. And then you've already completed it'll say like, you'll complete this attestation. And then it first starts with the first question is, do you plan to come on campus today? Yes or no? And then based on that, it will walk you through the attestation questions of, do you have any of these symptoms? Have you been asked to quarantine? Have you been in contact with anyone that has had a positive COVID-19? So there's about 4 or 5 questions that you submit, and then you'll get a green check once you're ready to go. And then that green check is what we're talking about. We would love to use as part of our attestation process. We'll also have a list that we print out before we meet students at the door. So if they're on the list but they don't have the green check, we'll still be able to march them through. So we're working on how to do that, but that gets sent. I get the emails and the text messages I get the emails right at about like 4:30 in the morning, and then the text messages sometimes come slightly later, but they're there so that you can access them whenever you wake up. Let's see. Let's scroll back to some of the questions and make sure we answered everything. Let's see. Let's go back to where I am unsure about the siblings across schools. For example, if we have a student IMS and IHS, I'm sure we can do what we can to work together if that's a preference that your family has. So just if you're concerned about that, just loop us in and we can see what we can do. Because at least from the IMS side, we could make a swap if there's not as much. We just don't know exactly if the high school schedule will be the same as the middle school schedule, if they'll try to do kind of a version of 1 through 6 a couple days and then the longer ones on other days like they've been doing, or if they'll be similar Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So as far as what we can do for your kiddo at IMS, we'll do what we can to help make sure that they can happen on the same days. Okay, so here's the question about, will there be an opportunity for those who are staying remote to learn asynchronously rather than participating in the live streaming? That's a good question. I will say my guess is that with the current 405 up to the 405 MOU is that originally teachers were posting recordings of the class sessions, which in the most current MOU with live streaming or concurrent teaching, they are no longer required to post the recordings. And so while the modules will also be available via Canvas, I don't know that the recording feature of the lessons will still be a requirement for staff. So that'll be something that we learn through the bargaining process. So some parts of that would still allow asynchronous learning. Others would, like for the actual like live session with staff would not always be available there. Question is, can the attestations go to the student and not the parents? So far, everything has been sent directly to the parents. It's been that the parents are completing the attestations, the parent or guardian, each day. And that's what I've heard. It will continue to do so. It doesn't mean that that won't change, but for right now, I believe up through middle school, we will have the families completing the attestations for students. I wish I could show you the whole form. It's pretty easy. It works right on your phone, or you can do it from a web browser. I don't know. So great question. Do you need parent volunteers to help with traffic flow in the first few days? I'm sure we would love to have some parents, but currently we are not allowed to have visitors on campus still. So we'll be using IMS staff to do those first few days, and we'll be learning as we go. So we appreciate the offer. We're not sure that we can have anyone on site to help yet. Are the students given additional time to get to their classes, having to work through the one-way stairwells? We absolutely are going to be allowing students a little bit of grace for the first few days as we go. I'm curious to see how long the transitions happen, because there's a staircase. If you know our school, the end of the science wing, there's the 3-level staircase. That's going to be the up, and then there's other opportunities for down as we go around. I'm interested to see how long the transitions take when we're not using lockers. They're just taking everything with them from their class. They can stop and use the restroom. So it'll be interesting. We'll learn and grow from that experience, but we're hoping that we get into a groove after a little while and it won't be too long. But absolutely, teachers are going to be flexible as we support students through that process. Let's see. Here's a question. It's an area of confusion for parents that they haven't been asked remote or hybrid. I think I understand that all kids will be assigned a day and they can choose to show up or learn from home. Is that true? That has been my current understanding. So it was not at the elementary levels. Families were asked to commit to, is your student staying hybrid for the rest of the year or remote or coming or remote? What would you like to have for the rest of the year? I have not heard that that is what we will do. We had kind of a test saying, are you interested? Do you plan to send your student back, just to kind of gauge how students were doing? That was what the district sent out. But my understanding is we're not going to be asking families to commit to one or the other. If your student wants to come on site, we will have a spot for them. And then if they want to learn from home, they can learn from home. So more to come on that, but I do not believe that we'll be asking families one more time for a specific decide and let us know, and you have to stick to that. It's going to be based on, we'll just have a spot for everyone should they want to come. I am unaware that the text messages can go to kid phones. We'll let you know if we hear anything updated about that. So the 3 feet versus the 6 feet based on the CDC, we are staying with 6 feet until we get different direction from the district. So while it was discussed, it was not actually sent out. Part of it has to do, and I don't know, Teresa, if you want to share a little bit, part of it has to do with the middle school model, and some of the 3 feet options are if students are in the same cohort. Do you mind sharing a little bit about what we know?
So what we've seen from Governor Inslee is not suggesting that it would be ideal to have it at 3 feet for secondary schools. So we are sticking with 6 feet, and like Carrie said, until we hear differently. I think it will, give us a slight amount of maybe wiggle room if we have a classroom and we have 15 students turn up one day. We're hoping that there'll be a slight amount of flexibility there, but we also have overflow spaces that we have, and Carrie, stop me if you've already said this because I had to step out, but we have a lot of overflow spaces built into the building so that because we don't know exactly how many will ultimately turn up in the first few weeks, and the number could change, we need to plan for where we would send those extra students if on a given day 17 turned up and we were used to having 14, for example. So we'll be working with teachers to have 3 students, and obviously not the same students every day, sent to our overflow spaces, such as our library. And those spaces will be set up. Unfortunately, would mean that the student would have to remotely join their class from the library for that day. But that's a way that we can keep everybody socially distanced, again, as best we can. So yeah, we have those spaces built in.
Thanks, Teresa. Let's see. Next one, will students use lockers this year? No, we do not. We're not planning to have any lockers used this year and likely not next year until we return to kind of a back to normal situation. I don't think we'll be using lockers anymore because of the congregation kind of challenges and the additional touch points. We're going to just have students bring their backpacks with them, carry them with them all day, no access to lockers. Do we send a picture with the green check to our students' phones? That would be fantastic, as once you have it, if you just text them that picture, then that can help them. They'll show it to us. It has their name on it, has the date on it. So right as they come to the front of the line, we'll be able to see that at the start.
There's a question about the uncertainty about the number of kids showing up. Yeah, so we won't know on a given day because we want families to have the flexibility of, maybe if you're concerned about how this is going to look and then you hear good things from the community about it and you want to try it out, we want families to have that flexibility, and we built it into the system so that people would have those options. But our system is built with the assumption that everyone is coming back at a certain percentage. So we're ready for those students to be there on that day that they're assigned.
Thank you. We have some questions about the time that school will start, since we just don't know officially the schedule. But if we should, and the question was relative to if families should drop students off early to help the check-in process. We'll send out information about the specifics of that as soon as we have it, because part of it is we have to have the staff available to do the attestation ready to go. And so we'll have a time when we start the attestations. A piece to that as well as we're not allowing students to congregate in any space. And so it's not like students can do the attestation, then come in and hang in the commons. Like, we're having them do the attestation, come in and go straight to their classrooms. And so it also has to be in a time when staff are on site and available and ready to have students come to their classrooms. So, so we'll have a specific start time and when we open the gates. And we've had, just as I've been trying to wrap my mind around how we're going to do this and how students will get into this process, but we've gone and visited other school districts that have students that have been doing this process for months and months. And so we've seen how it worked. And we visited a White River school that was able to get like basically 300 students in through the attestation process within 15 minutes. So it's kind of, it'll be interesting to see. I think obviously day one, we're going to have some hiccups and it might take us some more time, but just remember every day after that, we'll be learning from it and tweaking systems slightly to have it be more successful for everyone. So I would say our biggest ask of the community as we prepare for this is just help us know what we can, share, but also have grace with us as we're going to be learning and processing as much as we can those first few days to make sure that the system is smooth and working and functioning to the best of our ability. And so if you'll hang with us for a couple of days, and we should see some great improvements just as we learn from the process as we live through it for the first time.
There's a question about students who don't have phones. Do you want me to answer that one?
Sure, go ahead.
We addressed it a little bit earlier, but we certainly don't expect all the students to have phones. Many, if not most, do not. So we have the attestation process. We will really encourage the community to fill out that attestation form as early as possible. We will be printing out a list about 30 minutes before students arrive and hope to capture most of the students who filled in the attestations on that form. It's just that in terms of getting students into the building and into their first period class, we really do, those that do have the ability to show their tick mark and can get through will really help us stop the congestion at the door. So also printouts will be fine. The printout would also have the date. So if that's more convenient, that'll be another way.
Yes. All right. We don't yet know the time for the open house on the 14th. We had a question about that for the new sixth graders or people that have moved in 7th or 8th grade. We are anticipating in the afternoon, but more information will come on that. Let's see.
There was a question, we're tag teaming now, Carrie.
Yeah.
There was a question about, so if you have the green check mark, you're also on the list. It just saves us having to look on the list. The attestation check mark does give the student's name and the date, so we can verify that it's a current attestation tick mark.
We had a parent tip in I think we're just looking, I think I'm higher on the question. So we'll keep going back and forth. That's good so that you can see. But we had a question about, you could always, because there is the second question is, would you like to have this attestation texted to your device? And so like I have them all texting to my phone, but someone put in the suggestion that you could put your student's phone in there and it could send that attestation straight to them. Just know that ultimately right now we're asking parents to be responsible for what students or the families enter on those attestations, but it could go to their phone.
And certainly, did we already say a screenshot also works really well, a screenshot forwarded through a message to your student?
Yeah. So let's see, will there be less reliance on paper handouts in class? Will paperless be a thing in the future? I think for right now, we're trying to limit the amount of like handouts, papers that happen just because of the back and forth touching. It doesn't mean it won't exist or that students won't still take notes. It'll likely still be kind of laid back, and we'll use Canvas as the main turning in point for a lot of our work as we've been doing Canvas and Teams, things like that. So good question. We have another question. So will we have photos, videos of how the school looks and procedures? Yes. So what we're doing is we're creating this hybrid handbook, and we're stealing some of the amazing ideas that our elementary schools have already done that have lots of little video clips showing exactly how does the attestation process work? How do you walk down the hallway? All those things. How do you eat at lunch? What do you do? And so we've been recording as we've had students visiting campus. So we'll be embedding those little videos that we can show. And then part of what we're doing is that SEL lesson on the 14th that we usually have that SEL time will be all about procedures and processes and how to come to class. And then on Thursday and Friday, once you're actually on site and into the next week, we will be reviewing those with everyone so that everyone gets those. But it will be coming in the hybrid handbook that we'll be sending out before, as well as that SEL lesson. We'll all be focused on that on the 14th to help everyone know what's coming and what it'll look like. Let's see. And the recordings piece, I will say, because I've had a couple of questions pop in about that, whether they're still accessible to have recordings or not. That, again, I just don't know the details. That was my assumption based on what it looks like is the 4.5 MOU. So we'll see what that looks like when the agreement comes for the secondary. So we can share more on that as well. Let's see, there's some questions about bathroom and passing periods. We will assess that as we go to see if, and we're planning to have lots of supervision in the hallways right outside of the restroom so we can see how it goes. And if there's people in there, we'll have them line up and then maybe they can come during class instead. So we'll work on that to make sure that it works productively for everyone. Let's see. I think I'm caught up to about where your questions started, Miss Cowan. Let's see.
That's more at the bottom. There was a question about PE and whether students would be getting changed. At this point, I guess we're assuming that there'll be no getting changed for PE, and that PE activities will be a little different than what we're used to doing in terms of the exertion level. So yes, no getting changed.
So it'll be a little bit like elementary school on days that your student has PE, just encourage them to wear some athletic shoes so they can do some of the general activities. So there's a question about, and I'm not sure that we address this one, but carry all of their textbooks with them each day and laptop. So our assumption is that they will have, as of right now, we believe that they will have their device for the day and then access to materials will be digital. So if they had a textbook or like a reading book or a novel or something, would likely be that, but we're not anticipating each student have their full set of textbooks carrying through the school day in their backpacks with them. That would be more for at-home learning, and we'll have digital resources for them to do what they need to in class for that day. Let's see. As far as we know, we currently have a plan to have, and you may have already answered this, we're planning for lunch to happen on site. We're waiting for sure for the schedule to be finalized just because the elementary model does not have that, but we're planning to be able to offer that if that is in the schedule. So we are good to go. And then some of the school supplies, we will share out what they need. I would say some basic items like, something to take notes, pencils, pens, highlighter, things like that, so that if things are passed out, like a handout, for example, that they just get to take and keep, they would be able to have some marking ability. We will send out part of that with the hybrid handbook. And then please know that we also will be happy to have some supplies on site here in the office, or if there's a student that needs anything, they can just let us know and we'll help support them with that, is kind of our plan.
Someone was asking about donations earlier of spray bottles and things like that. At the moment, I don't think that is a particular need, although I appreciate the offer. But if someone feels very compelled to make a donation, pencils would be great. Most of our teachers have requested that is, a supply that they're often asked for from students, and we can't be reusing them. So a student that takes a pencil gets to keep a pencil. So if you would love to donate pencils, we would, I think, appreciate those.
That's great. And then another question just came in. If you remain remote, do you still complete the attestation form daily, marking the no? Yes, that's what we're asking. So you'll get it daily and you'll let us know if the student's coming on campus. That'd be great. I'll go back. We have just a few minutes left. So I'll go to my, the questions, see if we had some other general questions, then we'll pop back to the chat in just a second. Let's see. Here's a question. So are there any indications yet of what specific areas of concern have teachers have going into next year with regard to breadth or depth of curriculum students have mastered during the online learning period, general comments about academic impacts of this year? And they said it was in no way disparaging, just curious what the plan is moving forward. So all of our staff are aware that this year has been a challenge and we've been doing the best that we can. And so please know that not just from a building level, but district-wide, we're looking at how we can continue to support students as we slowly are returning back to a more normal school situation. And so these conversations are happening, how we can support, how we can bridge the gap, how we can not just catch up on content, it's more making sure that students feel connected, supported, in addition to the content. So we're trying to have a holistic view of it. And that's kind of the way the district is looking at it as a whole, how we can support everyone as we kind of come back together as a community. So I would say, yes, that's an ongoing, even across from our school to the high school, across all the everyone, we're all working on what we can do to help support students as we transition back to a more normal learning year. I had another question that was separate than what we've been talking about, but how stable, supportive, and involved is the specialist for IEP department and teachers? We have been in this district for 3 years, a couple of years at Sunset and 1 at PCMS, and their student has been through 5 specialist teachers and 3 counselors, and hoping for stability moving forward. So I will say that we, as I can talk at least to our departments, we have our counselors have been on site for when we got 3 counselors a couple of years ago. We've had the same counselor since then. And before that, we had one transition, I would say 5 or 6 years ago, but we've had the same counselors on site for quite a few years. Our LRC 1 and 2 staff has been fairly consistent, other than we've had an increase in numbers. So we've added a couple of new teachers over the last couple of years. So we're hoping to have a very stable program like we've had in the past. As far as in my time in the last 3 years here, we've had just a few changes. But overall, the core of our staff has been stable in our LRC 1 and 2 and support departments. So I envision that being what it's like moving forward as well. And if you want to reach out, whoever asked that question, and talk to us individually, we're happy to share a little bit more as far as who would be serving your student. Okay, let's go. We have about 1 more minute, I would say. Let's see. Let me see. I'll go back up. I want to make sure I didn't miss any. There was a question about mechanical versus regular pencils. Is there a preference?
I think regular pencils, thank you. Or we might have everyone wanting the other ones, but yeah.
We have lots of classrooms that have the electronic it's basically a non-touch. You just stick it in and it sharpens and pulls out. So there wouldn't be, it's not a high contact point, but it's also something that we can sanitize and wipe off often as needed. Backpacks are allowed. Office would be great for donations. Relative to our hand sanitizer, did you see that question, Ms. Cowan?
I did see that question. I think that would be a good one to direct towards the district. The good thing about the one we have is that we can control what's coming in. So I know a lot of parents will be tempted to send in a lot of different varieties of hand sanitizer. Just know that we do have, actually, I can say we have Purell, and Purell was not on the list of one of the concerning hand sanitizers. For those of you who aren't aware, there was a recent research or study was released that referred to some brands, none of which were familiar to me, except they did come out and say specifically that Purell was not on that list. So we do have Purell dispensers. As we always have, you might not have noticed them. We're all noticing things newly in this environment. So we have Purell on the walls. We have the dispensers throughout the building. We also have these big cardboard stands. And then we have the spray as well. So there's a lot of hand sanitizer opportunities. So we don't need students to come with their own. If you wanted to send a little Purell, please do. Just please don't send the Bath and Body Works or any number of the very highly scented ones. Can be a bit overwhelming for everybody or for some students.
Yes. There's a couple questions. We'll squeeze in a few more before we wrap up. So please touch on any potential plans for current 5th graders and current PCMS 6th and 7th graders to visit IMS before next fall. So yes, we are hoping to have an on-site opportunity through our web program for our new 6th graders to come on site during just in the days right before school will start to experience campus, meet some of our web leaders, things like that. And then we are hoping to have as well a transition day where our 6th and 7th graders from PCMS that are joining us will be able to come and explore campus as well. So watch for that to come this summer in August, later August as we're nearing the school year, we'll have that opportunity public. Let's see if So there was a question about laptops. Our understanding is because we are working in this module where students are with them and at home, they will be, I mean, as far as what we have heard, and again, final decisions will come from the agreement that comes from the district and the teachers union, but because we've built so much into the Canvas modules and that's been our main learning management system this year, that is still what we will be accessible. So I don't envision the students in class Zooming with the teacher that's in front of them, but they would have like the Canvas module open so they could access the assignments to turn in and the reading materials and things like that. So we do envision that each student will have access to a device and be able to use that in class to help them with the learning that's happening in the classroom. Oh, let's see. Becky, are you still available? Can you pop on? There's a question about the Fitness and Friends wrapping up. And if she's not available,
I think she is with student right now.
Oh, got it. Okay. So I think what that she's sending out, I will say that I do know that there's a communication going out to families about Fitness and Friends and the start of track and what the track season will look like. So it's basically part of a transition to track that is going to be happening. And so she's working on that. So there will be an e-news coming out today with all of that information specifically on what that's looking like. All right, I'm going to see if there's any last second ones. Oh yes, sorry, web where everyone belongs. It's a program for our 6th graders to come on site. All right, I just want to say thank you for joining us. I hope we were able to get to most of our questions. If you have any specific questions that weren't answered, I'm hoping we got to most of them. Please feel free to email us, any of us, and we can respond to you one-on-one as we're chatting a little bit. But thank you so much for coming. And we had a really great turnout, so I don't mind doing this moving forward. We'll try to do some more of these daytime events if this works best for families. We're not able to get as many at the evening ones, so this looks like we can get lots of people to come during the daytime. So thank you, everyone. Please email us if you have any other questions, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.